Hello and welcome to Zevy's Garage. Today we are installing these eBay brake motive drilled and slotted brake rotors with their ceramic brake pads on my 2012 Mini Cooper S Countryman, all four. First, got at about $200 for the whole kit, which includes the 4 rotors and the brake pads, the clips. No sensors on this one. For this package, some of the packages they offer sensors. I thought it was a pretty good deal, at least compared to stock brakes. Like I said, I've had good experiences with these on other vehicles, so we'll see how these do on the track and in the canyons on this car. I chose these brakes because they offer quite a few advantages over stock brakes. First off, they're drilled and slotted. That helps with heat dissipation and removing glazed material off the brake pads. And from my experience, they do perform a lot better than stock brakes. I have them on my 2013 Mini Cooper hardtop base model. On that car, I have killed off the stock brakes in the canyons because it doesn't have any of the front ducting that the S models come with. On the Countryman here, I have not had any true issues with these brakes until now, because after the second track day I've taken it to, they finally got a bit glazed. But besides that, they've been pretty solid. This is going to be just a quick video of us installing the brakes on the car. First thing we're going to do is jack up the car, all 4 off the grounds, get on jack stands, and see you in a minute. So, when you jack using this method, you can see not the most stable thing in the world, so I'm going to the car like that. Under the jack stands, I'll jack it from a nice point here. I'm going to do the jacking point. This will be okay here. Third. 2 it'll be then. Alright. Alright, pull my wrist somehow. Alright, follow me. Yeah, we're not high enough. Okay, well, back over we go. Go higher. The issue with this method is it raises it kind of crooked. Oh, stay there. There we go. Excellent. car onto the jack stands. The reason why you gotta be careful with this method is this jack stand has a lot of room. The other one's already touching. Filming? Are you on wide angle? No. This is fun because all the wheels are in there now, I think. Yep. Okay. So now we're going to lower the car onto these rear jack stands, which look like they're in a pretty good spot. I'm using the spot where the now that we have the car elevated off the grounds, we just have to lower the rear of the car onto the jack stands, in which I placed underneath the rear trailing arm. Yes, it's not the rear trailing arm because there's only one set of trailing arms on this car, but we're going to leave that in there. Yeah, we're going to be placing it under the innermost part of the trailing arm, where it bolts to the frame. So I'm going to slowly lower this. And we'll see if the wheel, I'm assuming the wheel is going to, careful, because the thing's going to want to drop. We'll see if the wheel will compress upward since it is in the trailing arm or not. So my trick is I leave a small, very small gap between the jack and the pinch welds, and then you gotta give the car a nice, good old shake because the goal is see if it's gonna stay on, so you don't bump it and have it fall off or something. So right now, the rear's wiggling a bit, which I'm not that happy about. Let's turn it downward so you can kind of see the wheel and the ground check there. So more like kind of upward down. So you can see it moves a little bit. It's very minor, but it is moving a tiny bit. Just a little bit of wiggle. So I'm gonna go around and check. See if we're fully off the ground. Okay, follow me. That thing's, oh, let me know when you're recording.
Yeah.
Okay, so the way I've jacked it, I have the rear higher than the front. Probably not the most advisable, but it's kind of just what I went for. So that's what we are going to stick with. I gotta really push in different directions. Yeah, now it doesn't even want to wiggle anymore. Okay. Good enough for me. It'll help if I turn it the right way. God damn it. Why did I change it? These wheel lugs are 17 mil. So I'm using a 17 mil half-inch socket. 6 point. It's deep just because that's kind of what I tend to do. Unless it's something that needs high torque. I have a decent sized half-inch ratchet here. Ideally, you use a cheater bar with just a pipe or something. And I already loosened them as you saw earlier, so I can just do it by hand really. For pretty much most of these. Since I already have them loose, it doesn't matter if it's in a circle or a star anymore. It's just when you're initially loosening, you want to do it in a star, and when you're torquing them down to spec, you want it in a star. So we have all our wheel lug nuts. No, lug bolts. You can leave that in there.
Mm-hmm.
I swear, I always get confused because they're called lug bolts. Anyways, I call them lug nuts, but they're lug bolts technically from BMW AG. So pretty much we have our Koenig Evergram wheels we're gonna pull off. All nice and easy. We're gonna get this. I'll put it under the car, I guess, right here. There's a seat for me right there. So we have our, right there. Quick comparison of the two. Go ahead, are you filming?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Here's our comparison right here. I'm falling over, but it's heavy. Here's a heavy one. Yeah, you can see we got a nice drilled and slotted rotors here. So we have, let me try not to fall over. 13 mil nut back here, or bolt should I say, and where my finger is back here somewhere. Hopefully you can see my finger. Those are for the guide pins. Yeah. So we're gonna undo those 13 mil guide bolts back here. Do it with kind of a short 3/8 ratchet, which is not advisable because normally the long ones help. That's right, I forgot I'll need to grab a wrench to help me with this. Ideally, you would do this with a short socket, not a deep one, because the deep ones are easy to mess things up with. It's easy for it to slip off and round. You can stop for a second. So, got my 13 mil socket and ratchet back here, and one of the adjustable wrenches slash crescent wrenches on kind of this retaining ring. Not on the actual nut part, but it's kind of like, I'll show you in a sec, with some flat edges around the perimeter of it. Kind of like one of those like nylon lock nuts that have the kind of washer face. So if you see right here, see if you can get in here. I'll do it. So you can see in here that there's the actual nut here, and I was grabbing onto the lip here because I don't have a wrench skinny enough to get onto this nut. So this one's different for some reason, but we're gonna give her a shot anyways. Okay, we've got these off. You can keep filming. We have the caliper bolts off. We need to make sure that's our bleeder line. Do we have a sensor on this side? We should on the back. That's fine. It's been a minute since I've done brakes. Okay, so we are gonna slide our caliper off and see if I can figure out how to put it somewhere without letting it droop on the floor. We're a little dusty on these calipers here. That'll be fine like that. Don't think I'll be able to get it out without getting this off. Let's take our old brake pads out. If it was just pads, this is all I'd do. I'd just pull this off and then leave the rotor, but I'm replacing the rotor. Eventually I'll measure it, see how thick it is, which still have a bit of life on these, at least on this outside pad. Other outside pad has a bit of life here. Looks decently okay. if these are within spec, maybe I'll mill them. I don't really feel that much of a lift here. Alright. Now, I'm gonna grab a socket and nope, I'm just gonna take this off. You can stop recording now. So now I'm gonna take off the caliper mounting bracket bolts here. That one and that one. And then this whole bracket will come off and make it so that I can take the rotor off. One second, let me just make sure this is the correct. But I'm too lazy to go grab one. Go. Those are on there tight. Oh boy. Getting our workout in here. One of them's out. Now we get the other one out. And we hold onto our bracket here so it doesn't fall. Okay, we got our little bracket, mounting bracket off. I'm gonna grab the socket for this, and we'll be back. Yep. So we have our rotor holding screw here, and we have our 6mm tech socket / Allen style. Let's get this one here and give it a couple smacks. If you just turn it, it's just gonna spin the whole assembly. Try not to drop it on my hand. Okay, we've got our old rotor off here. Interesting. That being said, we're gonna put this face down like this. I'm going to grab the other rotor just to make sure the measurements are identical in terms of the cutter diameter. I'll see if I can test her out. Yep, they look the same. Nothing there. The inside. Seem the same on the inside too. That should be good. And here, yeah, inside feels the same. Cool. All right, so we got a rotor. It's kind of heavy. All right, so we got a rotor here. I just gave us a quick basic clean, nothing fancy. Probably should have cleaned it more, but it'll be fine. And we're gonna just mount this up here. Right about there. We're gonna start threading in our itty bitty screw. Let me set this up first. Okay, got our screw set up here. Okay, got that lightly on there. I'm gonna grab the tablet and I'll meet you in a sec. Go. All right, so we've got our all data information pulled up here. Removing, installing / replacing both front brake discs. And then let's scroll through here. It explains pretty much what I explained there. saying to measure, but we're not measuring in this case. We're just replacing. It's telling us to remove that. We already did that. It wants us to replace the bolt, but we're not going to be doing that. So we'll just cross our fingers that we don't have issues with it. And that's pretty much it. We have our tightening specs. I'll get nice and close for y'all. This is through all data. 16 Newton meters is what I'm looking for my volts for this thing. Yes. All right, so we got our torque wrench here set up for 16 Newton meters right here. I'll set with that tighten around down. See if I can angle this a little more outward and get in here more easily. I thought I put my name. $17.1. That'll be fine. Okay. That is set there. You can come out and just face that. There you go. You can stop. Okay, so now we have our rotor on there. I have our torque specs here, so we're going to start torquing things on like the caliper bracket and the guide bolts, which hold the /guide pins that hold the brake caliper to the assembly. Have our bag of clips to hold our pads in place onto the caliper bracket. Parts of it. Probably one part. Ready? All right, so we have our clips here. We have our anti-seize. We're gonna steal. Let's see. Let's use the middle finger. Good old middle finger. It's probably a little too much. Here. So we gonna try and smear it on here. The main contact areas where it rests here, just because this helps keep it quiet. Oops, would help if I wasn't getting it all over myself. Nice. I don't need it on the bridge. Oops. That's fine there. You don't want to use too much of this stuff. Bring a bit of Bob Ross right here. This is gonna be lovely having the background. Having fun there. Let me tell you one sec. Now we're gonna stick this on here. There we go. All nice and placed there. I'm gonna do it to this side, and then we'll wrap this side up. This can go in the bloopers, me trying to find bolts. Okay. So, now we reinstall our caliper thing. Yes.
Mittens, oh my god.
Oh my god.
Mittens, no! Mittens, I'm so sorry. Oh my god, they fell against the wall. Bennett, oh my god, baby. Oh, I'm so sorry. Come here. Ready?
Yep. So, we're going to torque the bracket bolts to 110 Newton meters, which is 81 foot-pounds. If I can get a tool in here. Hold on a sec. You can cut for a sec. Okay, so I had to turn the wheel knuckle assembly here because there's not enough room for me to get it underneath the car, all on the floor. There's our click for the upper bolt. Try and get that click for the lower bolt now. There's our lower bolt click and torqued at 81 foot-pounds / 110 newton meters. Check this out. So now we're gonna do a little bit of part work here. I'm gonna give a little blob here. That will be beyond plenty. Yep. I'm just gonna stare
Mittens is right there.
here. There's also way too much.
Yeah. Cool.
Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so we got our back of our brake pad coated with nice high temp anti-seize. Very light layer. I had to take a ton of it off. So I put way too much. So now we're going to put this in the back side here. Okay. That one's on there. I'm gonna do the same to the other side, and I'll see you in a minute.
No, kitty. No.
Wait, what if it does a cat thing and knocks things over?
You are so gorgeous, Mittens. Okay, go ahead.
Okay, so we have our guide bolts / guide pins out. We're gonna wipe these off. Try and get these clean. Okay, that looks pretty good. Now, I'm gonna open this. I don't know why I can't do this with one hand. Hope it's going the right way. Put this here. We're gonna grab some of this. Imagine it should be okay with having a little bit of anti-seize residue in my fingers.
Satisfying.
Bit more in here. Alright, so got this all nice and greased up. Hopefully you can see that.
Smells like gasoline.
Not really.
No, I can't even smell it. But we'll
It's
just
really
call
you
it
can smell
that.
it certain times. It's kind of strange. Okay, so now
Kitty is gone.
we are gonna guide this back in here. Oh, I should have cleaned in there actually. Shit. My bad. We have our guide pin all greased up. I cleaned in here this time. Sticking her own in. Yes. And now I'm gonna do the top side. And I will see you guys after I do the top. So now that we have our upper guide pin taken out and cleaned, we're gonna hit it with some of that got goop. And we're gonna just smear it on here. Make sure it's all nice and greased up, because we all know going in dry is not fun.
You, I swear.
Hey, your car will agree with you too, so.
Hopefully.
I mean, let's throw into that. Anyways, back to the topic. Yeah, this all nice and greased up here.
Your dad did not stop.
We have our, I know, California roll and stop over there. We have our, you know, bracket side cleaned up. You know, wait for it, get a little closer. Very nice, very nice. Okay, so now we are going to put the actual caliper back on now. And that was torqued to 35 newton meters plus 5 newton meters, if I remember right, it said. To help us off, right?
Mhm.
Okay, we're gonna start with our 35. So I'm gonna take this off. I'm gonna find my 13 mil socket, which I have already lost. Damn it. Where'd you go? Oh, you're right here. Okay. We have our 13 mil socket. We're gonna torque this to 35 newton meters. I'm gonna have to edit this video because it's filming crooked.
Oh, is it?
Yeah. Oh, never mind. Okay, so we have our 16, no, it says it's a 16 set. We're gonna go up to 35. Newton meters is where we're gonna start at. Ooh. I'm gonna torque these bolts on with the caliper. This all looks fine to me. I'm suspecting it looks fine. Okay. So now this gets to all go back on. So I have my caliper expansion tool here, rented from good old AutoZone, because your boy here is kind of dumb and didn't buy the tool ahead of time, because I'm used to doing all this shit in the shop. So we're gonna slide this on in here, and then we are gonna start spinning this to retract the piston. And if you can see here, it's getting pushed in. I'm gonna loosen it, see if I can not go too far over. I just unlocked my trunk by accident. Nice. I'm trying not to go too far over from what I need. Okay, so this, for example, should maybe not get on there. Okay, a little more. Okay, now that is expanded to its fullest. So now this is just on me, trying to make sure that I can get this in place correctly. Oops, gotta get the line out of the way. Okay, let's swap sides. Now, we're gonna install these. We're technically supposed to replace these, but that's not happening. Not in this case. If you're trying to be legit, sure. But in this application, we won't be. If you want, you can clean it up and add some fresh thread lock. So now, turn this torque wrench on, and we're gonna go for our 35 newton meters like earlier. There we go. So it's 35 plus 5, so we're going to do each bolt to 35. I don't think we got there yet. No, not quite. Almost. Okay, there's our nice solid beep. So your goal is to torque both of them to 35. And then you add 5 foot-pounds to that, so it should be 40 foot-pounds. But I will, sorry, newton meters is the unit I'm looking for, not foot-pounds. I'll probably have to do it this way. Ow.
I guess she was at the AutoZone or something.
35. Stop it. You always have to review the information because it was not +5, it was +3 Newton meters. So we're set at 38 Newton meters. So now I'm gonna go back to the top one since I torqued the bottom one to 35. Yeah. Okay, this is a good one. Did they come by? Just let it film for a sec. There we go. Now, we'll go to the lower one. And like this. Okay, 38 Newton meters. Got a blink in there. Alrighty. Those are set. Alright. That one is done. We are just going to put the wheel on and go through, check everything. Make sure to always put the little comments back in place. And if you're on a side with a sensor, make sure you replace the sensor if needed. Usually you want to replace it, but in the case of this car, I don't have sensors with me, so I am going to not replace sensors. This side doesn't have a sensor. So we have this side complete, looking all nice and fresh and good. We just have to put the wheel on, which we're not gonna do yet. I'm gonna get through all the others, bleed it and everything before the wheels go back on. I'm gonna do the other side, then I'll catch you guys when we do the rear. All right, so we are on the rears now. I already did the other side just to verify some information. We have our brake motive rear drill and solder rotor here. Have our stock one still in the car. Shout out BC Racing coilovers. I'm gonna pull this apart and swap everything over. I'm gonna skip to the parts that you guys haven't seen because these are new steps that are different from the front. Eventually you'll hit a point where when you spin the socket on the caliper, you'll see the inside nut there just spins. What I like to do is grab these and I will, unless you have a proper wrench that'll fit in there, I just grab onto here like this and then I'll loosen the nut. So, one thing I forgot to mention on this side, which you'll see when I put this back together, is it has these E-Torx bolts, and it is an E14. I'm using a 3/8 E14 on this one. Fits nice and snug. You can see virtually no play at all. Good old Harbor Freight tools. You know how it goes. So, yeah, you have two the E-Torx on the back to hold on the caliper, instead of the big ones from the other side that were 16 mil. For now, I already replaced this. I already greased up our caliper guide pins. And now I just have to retract this for the parking brake. And then we have to grease the caliper clips in the back of the pads and we're good. You can stop real quick. Okay. So, in order to do this, to retract it, we're gonna take our in order to
I'm still filming.
Okay. In order to retract this, it's different from the other side, or sorry, it's different from the fronts. I'm gonna try that. I don't want to say the other side first. In order to retract this, you have to know that it's different from the fronts. You can't just expand it outwards. You actually have to twist it, in which I bought those universal cubes that you can buy online, which sadly they don't work on the Countryman rear, at least the one that I bought. I've used those on the R56s, but not on the R60 because I tried and none of the attachments fit. So what we're gonna do is we're taking in this kit, the F attachment from AutoZone slash, you know, whatever kit you have, because they're probably all the same, roughly. Press it inward so we have enough room. Then you're gonna basically aim to get these little nubs into these little channels on the sides here. Take a little better look at those. Okay, those are slid into place there. You tighten it and you secure it with this piece here. It would help if I lined it up correctly, which I didn't. There we go. Okay, now I'm going the wrong way. There we go. So, before you start spinning the handle, you're going to want to snug it up with this first, just to make sure it's nice and secure. So it doesn't slip out and become a pain. Just keep it simple. Might as well get it right the first time. So what my personal trick is just a quick dab of this. That can fail. No one cares though. And then we are going to start retracting it inward. And the rears I find are pretty difficult when you use the little lever. Hope it's trying to slip. Yeah, it actually slip. I don't know how that happened there. Ooh, that hurt. Okay. Okay. So we are going to continue to turn it this way. Why are you doing this? Oh my gosh, what am I on? So, that is retracted all the way in. Now, we're gonna loosen that so that can come out. We have our caliper piston retracted all the way inwards. So now, we are going to bolt up the bracket here again. I'll do that in just a moment. Screen okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So, as you can look here, we have a lot of torque specs. I'll open this so we get a nice exploded view. There we go. So, for the Countryman, brake disc to wheel hub, 16 Newton meters right here. We have the brake caliper to wheel carrier, 65 Newton meters, or 100 Newton meters for the Countryman. The guide bolts, 35 plus 3 Newton meters. That's the caliper guide pin, same as the front, same torque there. Then we're going to torque the e-torques on the back to 100 Newton meters.
Ready?
Yeah. Alright, so we have our caliper mounting bracket here. I'll bolt it up. Quite a bit of effort using a 3/8 because that's why I recommend using a 1/2 inch extension, or not extension, torque wrench. But the issue is I'd have to check and look for an E14 e-torques in 1/2 inch size because it's 3/8, and I'm not going to use an adapter for it because I don't want to break my adapters. That being said, I recommend you don't use these swivel type heads because these are more prone to shearing off from personal experience. I've gone through a lot of these. That being said, we are now going to pause because I messed up. Alright, so we have our brake pads all set up. Now, we are going to just slide it on in. Okay, got the inside one in. Make sure you pay attention to where the little nubs go, because that determines where the sensor is going to be. And now I'm going to get up. Okay, I have that on there. Now, like I said, I already greased the guide pins. I'm not going to worry about that right now. Have this here. This is going to get torqued to 35 and then plus 30 Newton meters, so it'll go up to 38. Oops, I almost dropped it. Oh, so dropped it. As I explained earlier, when this nut here starts spinning, damn, this nut's messed up. When this nut starts spinning, when you go to torque it, you're gonna have to grab onto it with something. You can stop for a minute. So now, you just gotta torque it to 35 Newton meters. Let's not knock that over. There we go, 35 Newton meters set here. So now is the struggle of around here. Wow. Getting tangled. I usually find it's easier to do from outside the wheel well. Maybe. Oh shit, there it goes. So make sure you go through and you reattach the sensor. Oof. Where is the other part? Open the bleeder cap. Put your sensor on back in here, the left side. Now, next most important step to do is you're gonna get in, make sure you press the brakes, because you'll have a bit of a gap in between the pads and the rotor. Like right there, a big gap there. So if you go in and you try driving it and you push on the brakes, there would be nothing that would happen there. So here, this is the break-in procedure. You probably can't see any of this. There we go. So we have 5 moderate to aggressive stops from 40 down to 10 miles per hour in rapid succession without letting the brakes cool and do not come to a complete stop. 5 moderate, 35 to 5 miles per hour in rapid succession without letting the brakes cool. You should expect to smell some resin as the brakes get hot. After this is complete, drive around for as long as possible without excessively heating the brakes without coming to a complete stop. Try for about 5 minutes at moderate speed. This allows the heated resin and the brake pads to cool and cure. After the brakes have cooled to standard operating temperature, you may use the brakes normally. please verify your torque specs with your VIN. I don't want to be liable for any misinterpretation of information that is different in correlation to your vehicle. Please like, subscribe, and comment. Share this video if it helped you. Thanks for watching, and have a good day.